Hi again, I'm glad you're watching this video. This is going to be looking at the steps it takes for a kindergarten or year 1 dyslexic child to learn how to read. After you've watched this video, I hope you watch the one about helping a dyslexic child to write. Now parents, you really can teach your own child with dyslexia to read. In the last couple of years, I've probably worked with 50 or 100 parents of children who had dyslexia who were in kindergarten and year 1. I have not seen one of them fail to read. Every single one of them has learnt to read. I'm going to show you the steps so that you can help your own child learn how to read. Some of your children might be a little bit past some of the things we cover early in this video, but hang in there because we'll be looking at progressively more difficult things as this video goes on. Now the first thing to do is set up the environment so that the child can learn easily despite the dyslexia. So I hope you've already watched the video about how to set things up, things like using coloured paper, things like using large font, bold font, all that stuff. If you haven't seen that video, make sure you check that out as well. Now in helping your child to read from scratch, it's really important that they know what sounds the consonants say. So consonants are all the letters that are not A, E, I, O and U, because they're the vowels. The consonants will say the correct sound pretty much all the time. You can trust that a T says T, whereas with vowels, they'll sometimes chop and change what sounds they make. So start with the consonants. Another thing you need to know is to start with the most frequently used consonants. So a letter like T or S or N is going to be used a whole lot more than W or F. Think of the board game Scrabble. In Scrabble, which letters are only worth 1 point? It's letters like N, T, S, R. Those are the letters that you want to start with your child. Now, tune in, this is really important. Do not call a T a T. Call a T a T. Don't call an S, call an S a S. Because you want your child to know what sounds the letters make. It doesn't matter whether or not they know the letter name. Over a period of time, systematically teach your child what each consonant says. Don't worry about the rarely used ones like X and Z and V. It just doesn't matter. Stick to the main ones. Now once your child knows what most of the consonants say, it's time to teach them about what vowels say. Now vowels are tricky because they'll say different sounds depending on if there's an E later in the word and things like that. But teach them the basics. Remember, it's not A, it's A. It's not E, it's E. Okay, so it shouldn't take too long, maybe a couple of months before your child knows all the consonants and all the vowels. Most of this learning is just a matter of repetition, getting out the letter T and saying, what's that say? T, oh well done. What sort of word would start with T? Oh, teapot? Yeah, good work, teapot. Just playing those sort of games. It takes time, but this is the foundation for reading and there's no purpose in trying to do other reading until they've got this. Now the next step is to blend those letters together so that they're not reading C is K, A is A, T is T. They're reading K, A, T. And once they can do that, they can already read, they just don't realise it. So with the word cat, you want your child to be going K, A, T. And if necessary, cover up the other letters so that they're seeing that we go from left to right and that we're just saying what each letter says. K, A, T. And then you get them to speed it up. You get them to keep saying that same word a few times. K, A, T, K, A, T, K, A, T, cat, cat, cat. The word's cat. Do you see how easy this is? A lot of people try and make lots of money by making this really complex. It's not that complex. You learn what the letters say and then you start with 3-letter words. So once your child can put 3 letters together and sort of blend the sounds into each other, K, A, T, cat, cat, then they're already halfway there. And that's when you want to jump on Google and download a whole heap of free information out there that's word cards that are consonant, vowel, consonant. If you just type into Google kindergarten cards with pictures, CVC, which stands for consonant, vowel, consonant, you'll get an enormous amount of free resources. That's what you're going to need to get your child reading. Consonant, vowel, consonant words always say the same sounds that they're supposed to say. It's when you've got consonant, vowel, consonant and then an E, that's going to change hop into hope, things like that. So stick to the 3-letter words, consonant, vowel, consonant. So by this point, you'll have worked with your child probably for a couple of months, but they're now able to sound out words like bus, cat, dog, hit, hat. It's ideal to work with your child on nouns, not verbs or adjectives. So nouns, things you can touch, okay? It's easier for a child to sound out a word if it's a noun because they're thinking nouns. They're not thinking verbs or adjectives at that age. So the next step is to help your child out with three-letter words that rhyme. Things like hat, sat, mat, pat. Once your child's able to recognise at, at, they're just going to come ahead in leaps and bounds. So you want to get lots of word cards all over your house. You want to get lots of pictures that they're drawing on all over their room. It doesn't matter if your house looks messy when your friends come over. What matters is that your child can read now. Let's fast forward a couple of weeks. Let's assume that your child can read three-letter words fairly easily. The next step is to introduce your child to the double sounds. Sounds like CR, TR, FR. Those double sounds will consistently make a reliable sound, so it's good to teach your child these sounds. Again, start with the most common sounds. Sounds like TR are more common than FR. Things like ST is more common than SC. You want your child to be able to see those two letters and recognise tr without having to sound them out, or without having to sound them out every time anyway. So a good way to get this firmly implanted in your child's mind is to get out a big piece of coloured paper, always coloured paper, never white paper when you're working with a child with dyslexia, and think of some common letters like ST are very common, and then you ask your child to think of words that start with ST. You say, okay, what words start with st? They'll come up with stand, stick, stay, stalk. And as they come up with those words, write the words down for them so they can see those words. Remember to use different coloured pens if you're working with a child who has dyslexia. Remember, colour motivates children and it's easier for your child to read if there's different coloured pens. Let your child draw the pictures that go with those words. Again, it's fun, it's motivating, but it's also making it normal for your child to be seeing those letters. As your child sees letters, they know what those words are and they can feel that confidence, and it's this regular practice that causes your child to improve. So your child knows how to read three-letter words. Your child is starting to get the hang of those double consonant sounds, and that means that they can now read four-letter words. Whereas before your child could only read the words sit and hit, now your child can also read the word spit, because that double sound is now something that's in your child's range. Grab some books that are really simple, books that have maybe 6 or 7 words on a page, and get your child to start reading these books. Now, chances are they will have been doing some reading all along with whatever school sends home, but it's time to be systematic about learning what these books say. Now, what I'm going to tell you is huge. I want you to write it down, I want you to tell your neighbour, I want you to tell everyone, this is big, this works, and this has created so much success for children who have dyslexia, more than almost any other strategy I know. Get your child to not read the book from cover to cover, but read the first page 3 or 4 times. Read the second page 3 or 4 times. And then don't go on to the third page, go back and read the first page a couple of times and the second page a couple of times. It's in the rereading that your child starts to get the hang of reading. You see, the first time your child's reading the page, they're really just sounding the words out. That's not reading, that's sounding out. Reading is when you understand what you're reading. Reading is when you understand the meaning of the book. So by having your child reread that page, the first time it's hard for them. The second time they're okay. The third time it's easy. And then you go on to the next page. And remember, keep coming back to the pages they've read. Now, a lot of parents say, oh, I don't want my child to read that book anymore. They've already memorised the words. It's as though there's no purpose in them reading that word once they've memorised the words. Once they know the words, they feel successful. They feel like a champion. Here's our chance to have them enjoy reading. So don't be afraid to have your child rereading things they've read before. It's a joy. Don't read a book today and put it away. Read a book today and then read the same book tomorrow. It's the repetition. Also, as your child reads the same book over and over, they're going to see the words, it's going to jog their memory. That's how words get locked into their memory. It's useful. Over a period of time, you can introduce your child to be reading more and more difficult books. Whereas initially they were only reading books that had, say, 7 or 8 words on the page, over a period of time they can be reading 10 words on a page, 15 words on a page. Don't overwhelm your child. It's better to go slowly and have your child feel successful than to try and rush things and have your child decide that they don't want to read with you. Now keep in mind that you as an adult have a long concentration span, your child has a very short concentration span, so don't require your child to read for more than 10 minutes at a time. If they're a little bit older, maybe slightly more, but 10 minutes is about the time that you get the maximum value from that experience. Any longer than that, and the child's starting to switch off and they're not really learning anything anyway. It's almost as though they're just enduring that time. Okay, now this is a big deal, so I saved it for last. It's really important that your child is not reading with you under fluorescent lights. Fluorescent lights, like I'm under at the moment, are just terrible for children to read under if they have dyslexia. The fluorescent lights are actually flickering really quickly. And so it's almost to a child with dyslexia as though they're sitting in a disco with a strobe light going. It makes it really hard, especially if the words are moving on the page for them. Wherever possible, use natural light, sunlight, or use good old-fashioned light bulbs that destroy the environment. Who cares? What matters is that your child can read better under them. And remember, with your child, little and often, okay? It's not about reading for 2 hours once a decade. It's about reading for 10 minutes a day, every day, or every weekday at least. You can teach your own kindergarten or year child to read despite dyslexia. Dyslexia is just a speed bump. It's not the end of the road. It's just a matter of applying the principles I've shown you systematically. I know you can do this. Go and give it a shot.